broadcasting.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us. My name is Menéndez. I'm the director of the Humanities Edge Program at FIU, and very proud to say that I'll be joining the faculty this coming fall with joint appointments in English and the Wolfsonian Public Humanities Lab, which sponsors this wonderful series. Thank you to Rebecca Friedman, the director, for inviting me to host this episode of Coffee and Conversations, where we explore the ways in which cultural institutions are responding to the coronavirus pandemic. And a special thanks and welcome to Lissette Mendez, who I've known for many years, and it's delightful to sit in this format with. She is the director of programs for the Miami Book Fair at Miami Dade College. Her official bio says she was born in Cuba, but grew up in Miami Beach, where she still lives, and she drives around with a trunk full of books, and she'll try to give you some at the slightest provocation. Thank you so much for joining us, Lissette. The format will be that we simply talk for about 20 minutes, and then we'll take questions for the last 10 minutes from the audience through the Q&A chat button that's on the bottom of your screen. So feel free to put in your questions, and I will convey them to Lissette at the end of this. So the fair, which has become a model for fairs around the country, was inaugurated in 1984. It sees some 200,000 visitors a year. I am always in awe of how you guys organize it. And I'm going to ask you a question about that. But fill us in a little bit about what you do at the book fair.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to come talk to you. I have been a big fan of yours since reading your first novel, you know, early 90s, I think, and reading all your books then. So it's a real special treat because I really just have loved your work all along, and I've been lucky enough to watch you in action, interviewing people on stage at Miami Book Fair. So again, thank you, and to FIU as well, my alma mater. And I worked at the Wolfsonian for a little bit of time, some 20 years ago at this point. Wow. So thank you to that group as well. But what do I do at Miami Book Fair? You know, I work on developing the programs all throughout the year, as well as during that November festival. During that week, I work with a small but mighty team of program folks who together we meet with publishers, we meet with individual writers who are interested in participating, and we think about what the book fair means to the community, and what our founders intended for the book fair to meet for the community. And as many of you know, one of the founders of the Miami Book Fair was Mitchell Kaplan, who is still very much involved and whom I work with very closely. He's the owner of Books on Books, small independent bookstore chain here in Miami. And the other founder was Dr. Eduardo Padron, who was the president at Miami Dade College until very recently when he retired. And so, we spend a lot of time thinking about that. What does the book fair mean? What is it? What's our role in the community? What's our role in the South Florida community? Our role in the literary community, in the larger world of culture and ideas. So, yeah.
I have a million questions about the logistics involved in that, but before we get to that, I think the question everybody has, who's tuned in and who will tune in on video later, is what's going to happen to the book fair this year. We just heard that the National Book Festival in Washington, D.C. will be going fully online. What plans do you have for the book fair this November?
Well, so, when the shutdown started and we had to cancel a lot of the events that we had planned, in-person events, we had just started working on plans for book fair. This was in early March. The first thing we did was try to reimagine everything that we were going to do in person, in March, in April, May, and we transformed it so that it would work as a digital digital programming. We did that with creative writing workshops. We did that with our public author series that we partner with Books and Books on. And little by little, we started, changing the way we were doing things. If the workshop was 3 hours, we made it an hour and a half. And then, create, in learning the infrastructure, the tech infrastructure, as we were talking about, was another big, hurdle. How do we bring this, to people in a way that they can access from their home? The barriers to participation, we need to keep them low, because as I've always said, that's been one of the primary missions of Book Fair. How do we lower the barrier to participation so that everyone can attend? And that means a whole host of things, not just making it in downtown Miami as part of Miami Dade College. That means, who are we presenting? How are we presenting them? So that was part of all our thinking. And we, of course, were watching the news, taking our cues from the leadership of Miami Dade College, where Miami Book Fair was founded, and where we still are today. There would be no Miami Book Fair without Miami Dade College. And so we had a very recent conversation with our current president, Dr. Orlando Montoya, who has been a part of Miami Dade College, 40 years. He retired recently and came back as interim president, and with our vice president, Dr. Leonor Relicio. And we decided to continue thinking about ways of bringing Book Fair to the people as a virtual experience. We are still looking to see what will be possible in terms of on-site events, because so much of what Miami Book Fair is that spirit of the place, the booths with the books, the outdoor music, the kids area, it's part of the big picture of making it a place that everyone feels comfortable coming to. We're not hidden away in a kind of ivory tower-ish institution, or in a place where only certain people might feel comfortable coming because, of those, sort of sometimes intangible barriers that we've all had to either cross or been confronted with, in cultural life and in university life in many places. So while we are definitely working on all the different types of programs that can be, that we've always presented, programs that deal with current affairs, programs that actively create platforms for people talking about issues of social justice, as we talked a little bit briefly about that before. Programs that celebrate literature as entertainment. Sometimes we forget that books are supposed to be fun, not just instructive. So as we've been thinking about all the ways to create that programming, we've all thought to work, not just to work for an online experience, but how do we then really take advantage of the opportunity that a digital platform can afford us? So, we're no longer bound by time and space, right? So what can we do to create really special events that go beyond the conversation between the two authors, which is obviously still a very important part of what we do, and it's the primary thing that we want to do. But how do we bring additional digital experiences that can give context to the book, or give context to that author's life, that can extend the experience of the person who's coming to participate in that conversation? And I've been thinking about this a lot with the programming team. And, we are developing a series of programs. I mean, and some of it might just be the two authors, or the author and the interviewer in conversation, because, with the right interviewer, such as yourself, we can really, the author really gets a chance to bring, their particular point of view to their work, or, backstory of the research that they conducted, or, that kind of thing. But I think there's a lot of other ways to bring additional value added, to use like a marketing phrase, value added content to each book. So that's what we're working on.
So is it going to be, maybe you think, a hybrid of some online content and maybe a couple of live events with the social distancing? And
Yeah, we're figuring out some things that we might be able to do. Some of what we have talked about is our outdoor, stage called The Porch, which is presents a mix of live music, some kind of the quirkier, funner, literary programs that we've always done out there. We're also thinking it might be an in-person book fair where we celebrate the very, very many really great authors who live in South Florida. Sometimes, in the big book fair with 500 and something authors, it's like, you've got to be here, you got to be there, you got to be that place. And I'm always getting complaints, oh, you put my two favorite people, against each other at 4 o'clock on Saturday. And I'm like, oh. So this might be one way that we do it, bring all our local great authors together in a socially, distanced and following all the CDC guidelines. And if we can, that's what we're going to do. If people want it, that's what we're going to do. So yeah, you heard it first. We're doing a hybrid book fair.
Great. Thank you for helping us break the news. A lot of people may not know that a lot of the content of Years Past in the Fair is available online. A lot of these wonderful interviews and events are available online. Where can people go to access past events and also to sign up for events that are ongoing as we speak?
So, unfortunately, we've not been able to really create a very deep archive of all of the events at Book Fair. We haven't had the budget to really go all out, but our partnership with C-SPAN has been, now when I look back, I've always appreciated it and I've always loved C-SPAN, but all of a sudden, like in the past week, I've been like, oh my God, I really love C-SPAN. And so one really easy way of finding a lot of the work over the past, 20 something, 30 years is through C-SPAN Book TV. And if you just put Miami Book Fair and the query, the year, if you're interested in a particular year, you'll get, just streams and streams and streams for pages. Just in the past couple of days, I've been looking for streams of specific authors who maybe one of the saddest things about in my life, I started going to book fair when I was in high school, and now I work at book fair, and I haven't been to a book fair since 2004. I've been working on book fair since 2004, but I never really get to sit in the audience and enjoy. And even when I'm sitting there watching,
Right.
like your conversation with Samantha Powers, the whole time I was like, what's happening in the next room? What is this author? Is this that thing? Is that other thing on? Whatever. So I was looking at some of the programs. I really wanted to see a conversation that we had programmed with Ibram Kendi and Sarah Broom last year, and I was able to go right to C-SPAN and find that conversation. We do have the streams also on our website at miamibookfair.com, but they are all-day streams. So, we haven't yet been able to find the budget or the time and to be able to break them down into the individual sessions. So if anyone's interested in just seeing the streams or finding specific, our website has some of that as well. YouTube has a lot of stuff.
And where can people go to look at when will you have the lineup for November? And
Yeah.
will people be able to sign up for certain events? When will that start?
So we're working on all of the programming now, both looking at the list of books that have been published this year and how to program them in groups that make sense, and how we're changing the structure of each author program. It's not as easy to do what we've traditionally done, which is, you get up, you do a reading, someone else comes up and does a reading, and there's a Q&A. So we're starting to look at how to do that. One of the other things that we're doing that I'm really excited about is you know, taking advantage, as I mentioned, of the digital, you know, platform. We are looking at programs, like bigger programs. It's like, how do we highlight, you know, Latino women authors, you know, and, you know, I mean, when I started reading, right, women, specifically women, Latino women authors in the 80s, we were talking about maybe a handful of women, you know, Sandra Cisneros, Ana Castillo, you know, Cherry Moraga. I mean, there's a few, I'm leaving, Pat Mora. And now we have this great, very rich catalog of writers, you know, that are publishing today, and so I started becoming very interested in understanding that historical conversation, you know, how, you know, who were our madrinas, right, and who are we going to be the madrinas for in the future, and how has that literature changed or not changed? How has the publishing world, organizations like mine, how have they contributed? So, you know, we're looking at these big chunks of programming that really maybe take a lot of different authors and give them the platform, you know, so we don't, you know, so we might not have a Zoom conversation with 35 people. That is not going to work either. But again, now we can have, you know, conversations, individual conversations, that then someone can take a whole entire day to watch. Someone can come back in 3 months and be like, oh, what was it that, you know, Ana Castillo said that, you know, I can think about today, you know. So that's how we're looking at it. We're looking at ways of really highlighting our local authors, you know, our Florida authors. I've always been kind of obsessed by Florida, you know, and its complexity, you know, and I've always wanted to create a program, some sort of program that would really highlight, you know, who those authors are. And I'm also thinking of how to take this beyond this year's book fair. You know, you know, it's like when we first started doing programming year round, around the year that I came on in 2004, you know, we started really making year-round programming a big focus, and I love that. And I've always been a little bit sad the Sunday when book fair ends, that a lot of those conversations will also end. You know, they're in our hearts and our minds, but they will end. With having this new digital world, we can keep those conversations going, you know, all throughout the year.
Make the world's first asynchronous book fair. That'd be something.
Yes. I mean, I
also want to say, just as a writer, you know, working and living here in Miami, just how very, very fortunate we are to have the book fair and the advocacy of the book fair and of Mitchell Kaplan. You know, to know that we are supported has been just a wonderful reason to be here and to be working as a writer here. So thank you for that. I do want to open it up to a Q&A in a little bit, but before we do, I wanted to ask if there's a way to that we, your audience and your readers, can support the book fair. What is the best way for us to support the book fair, especially in this time of so much flux and programming challenges?
Well, I mean, you know, books, you know, books and independent bookstores are very important to, you know, to the whole ecosystem of books existing in the universe. So, you know, if you're going to buy a book, you know, consider going to booksandbooks.com to purchase that book. They're a book selling partner. I know, you know, Amazon is very easy, you know, and listen, you want to get your toilet paper from there. I'm not going to tell you anything about that, you know, but if you're going to buy a book, go the extra step, buy it from Books on Books. And, you know, in terms of supporting book fair, you know, we have memberships every year. And those memberships are going to be even more important this year because, you know, we're not going to be able to give people the same benefits, you know, of membership that we've been able to give in the past. I, you know, have always felt a little uncomfortable myself about the idea of membership, only because, again, providing access and removing barriers has been my lifelong work. But, if anyone can, join us by purchasing a membership, that means that those who really can't will then be able to have the same access they have. And I think especially in this moment, in our culture, our history in the United States, that's really kind of the most important thing. We've gotten used to our comforts, our Starbucks coffee, which God knows I'm, pretty much addicted to, and I had to break that addiction by making my own, but if we go back to sort of considering how we're spending the little bit of money that we might have, then we can think about our neighbor more who might not have that little bit of extra money. And, access to the books and the conversations is a very important way for folks who might not have the same, the same privileges that we do, of paying jobs or a family history that encouraged sacrifices for education. And I think in the end, education and learning and the ability to think critically is what's going to save us. And, so anything anyone can do to purchase a membership or donate or participate in some of the creative writing workshops that we offer, because those funds that we might charge go directly to that author who is teaching the workshop. And that's another way of supporting. It's not just supporting the institution, but helping the institution support the creator of work, yes. Whether it's a book or a play or whatever it is.
So buy Books and Books, become a friend of the book fair, and donate books. I know that every year there are big bins at Books and Books to donate, especially children's books. When will those be up? Is there another way to donate? I know I have 2 boxes of children's books waiting to go to some.
Yeah. That's part of our program, Read to Learn Books for Free, which is in partnership with the Children's Trust. And we have 65 bookshelves all throughout the county where we stock with books. Those bookshelves are like in the WIC offices, the Children's Courthouse, some public health organizations. All the list of all those places are on our website. Right now, just Books and Books is just opening up. And our Read to Learn Books for Free program is starting up again as some of those bookshelf sites are opening. And as some of the college is allowing some folks to come back into the offices. So, anyone who wants to send me an email at lmendez@mdc.edu, we can arrange a safe, contactless, pickup from their home. And we can also, as Books and Books begins to open, those bins are there still, and folks can drop off there if that's easier for them.
Thank you, Lissette. I want to open it up to questions, and I know we have one already from our director, Rebecca Friedman, who thanks you for this conversation, and wants to know, Lissette, if you think this global pandemic moment will change the work that you do forever. Are there some permanent changes, and do you think that there's a connectedness because of remote and because of the remote access with authors that might be a positive in some ways?
Yeah, well, again, thank you so much for having me, Rebecca. So I think it will change. I think there's no way for it not to change. I'm trying to look at all the positive ways in which what I do will change. One of the positives I think we've talked about is, being able to really harness the technology that's maybe been sitting there and only some organizations have used to create more access, to create more spaces for authors to participate without having to come to South Florida, to add all of this, additional material to each and every author conversation. So I think those are some of the positive ways in which, and access, I also mean, there's a lot of folks who have always wanted to come to book fair, but maybe it was harder for them because, their health or, their ability to, their transportation needs. We all know that Miami doesn't have the best transportation, even though we're in downtown Miami. where there's, you know, a metro mover stop and all of that. You know, and I think Rebecca mentioned something about access for authors. Did she say that
for
question?
with authors, yes, that, you know, authors, I think, as you mentioned, that aren't able to travel or maybe have competing demands that they wouldn't be able to get to. I know for me, it's been possible to attend way more readings and events than I normally would in a week because of childcare issues or work or whatever. I can just now Zoom in. So yeah, that was part of Rebecca's question as well.
Yeah, definitely. To me, that's a big part of it. And one of the parts I'm really excited about, for example, you know, just in the past couple of weeks, I was able to attend a number of sessions at the Hay Book Festival, right, in Wales, you know, which I can 99.9% guarantee you that I would have not been able to be there in person to attend. So I think that's definitely going to be one of the pluses. Maria Rana from the National Book Festival, we had a Zoom meeting where we talked about how to do things, what they were thinking of doing, what we were thinking of doing. We've also done that with a lot of the festival directors around the country. And at each of one of those Zoom meetings with, you know, 30-something, 60-something odd people, I said the same thing. You know, it took a pandemic to bring us all together to talk about what the importance of what we do and how to bring it, how to continue it, you know. And I think we will always be hybrid from now on. I mean, it's always about the budget, right? I mean, I'm not on the fundraising side, but I do have to get very involved in the fundraising side. And there was an article in the New York Times last night, or I read it last night, about the Ford Foundation taking the lead in increasing, you know, by a really max amount the money they're investing into nonprofits, and then little by little, every one of the other big foundations, the MacArthur, the Carnegie Mellon, etc., have all come on board. And I was like, it was the happiest thing, you know, I've read all week, because this is the time. This is what should always be happening, you know, not just for cultural organizations, but for any organization who is actively doing the work of creating a more, you know, just and a more open cultural world, educational world for people. And so thank God that those folks have been thinking about that and that they're taking the lead to doing that. So hopefully, you know, we will have the same kind of supporters, and that will allow us to, even as we can go back to our in-person events, which I love, and the energy is fantastic, and what we do in person is never going to really substitute what happens online, that we can continue creating the online content that will help us reach even more people.
Thank you. David Rifkind, another wonderful colleague of ours, has a question for you. Has the book fair changed the ways publishers think about authors and audiences?
You know, we've been very lucky, and I think most book festivals that are as old as ours, this is going to be our 37th book festival. I think we've been, you know, we've always been thought of as a place where, you know, authors can come really connect with the public. You know, because you're a writer, you know, you're in your office, you're in your, you know, cafe, you're writing the books, you're by yourself, you know, you publish, you know, you go on tour because you want to feel that someone cares, you know, that someone is valuing that, and there's nothing to replace that feeling that drives the book forward, you know, to get out. You know, sometimes, unfortunately, it's a little bit about the money and the sales. You know, how many books are you going to sell at book fair? I get that question a lot. But we've also been very lucky that while we can't say, oh yeah, this book, you know, is going to sell 2,000 copies right at, you know, at the end of the program, that publishers and writers love to be able to connect with the people themselves, not, you know, at a remote, but in that way. So we've always had a lot of support from publishers, and we've tried to create the conditions within the book fair on the back end, as you know, with hospitality and allowing and not dictating what how or why things should be discussed or anything like that, giving as much freedom to the artists, as much freedom and as much comfort to people who are traveling to get to where we are. So yeah.
You're an absolute gem, Lissette, and I could talk to you for 3 more hours. And I'm so grateful that you could take this time to be with us today. Unfortunately, we are out of time. There is one other question. Let's see if we have time to answer it. Very quick from Omar Figueras, a colleague of ours at NBC. He wants to know, in case we do not reopen, how do you feel about a virtual street fair? I think you talked a little bit about that. Omar, it looks like it's going to be hybrid. And how do you feel about that, Lissette, just in 30 seconds before we leave?
So as part of the online experience, we are planning some virtual book fair, outdoor activity type things, but online. Possibly some live music, links to bookstores and other, purveyors of literary stuff. So we're reimagining everything, and we might fall on our face, but at least we tried.
Never. Thank you so much. We look forward to the book fair in November in whatever form it takes. And I just want to let everybody know that we're taking a short break of 1 week here at Coffee and Conversations, and we'll be back on Thursday, June 25th with a whole new series. For the last couple of months, we've been covering how museums and other cultural institutions have been responding to the novel coronavirus pandemic. And for season 2, we will remain mindful of that topic, but focus more centrally on issues of race and social justice in the museum setting and beyond. Please join us when we launch Coffee and Conversations, Museums and Histories of Anti-Blackness in 2 weeks. As a reminder, all of our past episodes are available on our YouTube channel and our website, which is wphl.fiu.edu. Thanks again to everybody for joining us.
Thank you.
Stay safe and well.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. So great to see you.
Great to see you, Lissette. Thank you and best of luck. And